All Elite in New Japan, CML and Stardom too, gathered in Long Island, New York to battle it out. The door is closed until next year. Swerve and Ospreay, they fought. Callis almost ruined the thing. But Swerve's reign continues now, on and on. The door is closed until next year. Mercedes and Stephanie fought on and on for the TBS and New Japan Women Strong. Unfortunately, Mercedes' creative control conquered it all. Tony, Mariah, Shirakawa made out. We couldn't believe our eyes. Jericho then dragged it down into the abyss. The door is closed until next year. I'm John Rickton with my review of AEW X New Japan X CMLL X Stardom Forbidden Door 2024 event. Yeah, so let me know your thoughts on this show in the comments, please. If you know what song that was from the intro, I'm sorry for ruining it. I'm actually not, but nevertheless. So, yeah, I want to know what you guys have to say because I have thoughts, I have good thoughts, and I have other thoughts about the fact that AEW needs quality control with these shows. WWE, I'm just going to say right now, does give us too little for a lot of these events. There's a happy medium between 5 to 6 matches on a 3-hour show and 15 matches on a near 6-hour show. I mean, if you think about it, actually, with the pre-show, it's actually more like a 5-hour show, but the whole point, 5 hours. 5 hours, and they still went to almost midnight on the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast, so it's just after 9 p.m. as I'm recording this. But there are people fighting sleep, and yes, it is nice that they gave us some moments. But there are also some issues like everybody kicking out of everything, and they need to stop that. And I mean, by they, I mean every single wrestling company. That's one big thing about all Japan. That's one thing about, in the 90s. And one thing about a lot of wrestling, like especially in the later 90s, even in the 2000s, it got to where everybody was kicking out of everything. And that can be exciting when it's done occasionally. Nevertheless, so the UBS Arena in Belmont Park, Long Island, New York. I don't know where the fuck that is. I don't know. I don't care. 19,000 seat capacity. And according to WrestleTix, they had between 11 to 12,000. So they either marketed themselves well, or people decided they wanted this pay-per-view to do well. And you know what? The crowd is pretty good for the most part. So if you guys were there, I hope you guys had a great goddamn time. Renee, Jarrett, Rocky Romero, and RJ City were the panel. They were running down the card. Okay. So we had a minor production quibble where they pitched to the Acclaim, and then it took a bit. And Okada's wife is more famous than Okada. I believe she's a voice actress. I don't know what she's done. If you know what Okada's wife has done as far as voiceover work or celebrity work, whatever, acting, let me know because I'm at a loss. Running out of wind here. So they brought out Amanda and Brody Jr. to talk about the Brody Lee Reebok shoes. As long as the proceeds go to the families, I don't care. Like, no, really, I don't care about this particular thing as long as the proceeds go to the family. If there's any kind of shady bullshit going on, that's ridiculous. Then they had an added match, which is hilarious given what happened on this particular pay-per-view. Kyle Fletcher against Serpentico. Seriously, it doesn't even belong on Rampage. Did they bring back AEW Dark is what I noted. How can I take Kyle Fletcher seriously when it looks like they just put a bowl of hair on him? And who am I to talk about somebody's hair? He won. I do not care for Matt Menard on commentary. I'm sorry. I don't know what purpose he serves. So, yeah, he won with a pile driver and a brainbuster on the buckle. You could have easily just, had a slight breeze come over and knocked over Serpentico for what he's worth in 2024. And that would have been fine. But a brainbuster on the goddamn buckle, you needed to beat him. It's about making a statement. That statement is, we don't know what the fuck to do with some of our talents. Kings of the Black Throne, Malachi and Brody King against guys at Private Party who have not evolved one goddamn bit in 5 years. O'Reilly and Tomohiro Ishii, who got a pretty good pop. And Roderick Strong and Gabriel Kidd. Gato was over there. Gato flew over for this. Gabe Kidd just annoys me on a spiritual level. I don't know what it is about him. Maybe it's the fact that he thinks he's a star and he's really not very good. So, yeah, Isaiah got pinned by Brody. There wasn't anything to this. It was just a messy 4-way tag. It's not even against the talents I like, but I've seen enough of these 4-ways. Willow and Tam Nakano, I assume that's how you say that, against Statlander and Momo Watanabe. If I said that wrong, I'm sorry. I do know that Tam and Momo have history in Stardom. I don't follow enough Stardom, so I have so many hours in a goddamn day, and in the week, and in the year. I run out of wind when it comes to some wrestling. I just don't have the time to dive into more stuff. What I have seen, those women do kill it over there. There was a DVD out the road for 2. I don't know why that wasn't the finish. There were the Pounce and a German bridge for 3. Tam pinned Momo. It was fine. It built up the whole Willow Statlander clash that we're going to get at Dynamite Beach Break. So, Mariah May, along with Tony in a tracksuit for some odd reason, took on Saraya and Harley Cameron. You know, Saraya's Forbidden Door is open only to transphobic pieces of shit. I feel bad for saying that, except she's exposed herself as a goddamn moron, so she really deserves every bit of ridicule she gets. Why was Tony in a tracksuit, I was wondering? I don't know. Harley took a bump on the goddamn apron, and I thought her chest was going to explode the way she landed. That looked really painful. And, yeah, Mariah got the victory. Okay, cool. I mean, thank God. Apparently, this was an Owen Hart Cup, first round match, and I just didn't realize it. Okay. Whatever. Anyway, and if it wasn't an Owen Hart Cup match, I apologize, but I got nothing against Mariah. I don't. She actually has shined here. I see why people praise her work in Stardom, but yeah. The Lucha Bros and Mystico, a.k.a. Sin Cara, and you can tell because he botches, took on Hiromu, Yota Tsuji, and Teton. It's spelled Titan, but it's pronounced Teat. How can I take this man seriously? He had a scar right between his teats. I'm going to keep saying the word teats until I disgust you all. So the crowd was into this. Yoda's smile was off-putting. They just did shit to each other. It was fun. The problem is we just saw a 4-way match where everybody did everything to each other. Literally, 20 minutes ago, if that? And Mystico ended up tapping out Teton. I did note that I don't think Hiromu Takahashi is human. I think Daryl's more human than him. I love Hiromu, don't get me wrong. I just don't think he comes from this planet. So we get Pyro, the crowd's up. Thank God Menard's off commentary, because if Menard had been on commentary for this main show, I might have actually gotten annoyed. Sizable crowd. MJF gets the crowd up, and then he takes on Hechicero, that I'm nicknaming Viano 6, because he looks like a long-lost Viano brother. Bet you didn't expect that reference. Taz, Excalibur, and Nigel on commentary. Nigel was funny at times. Other times he was a bit overbearing. I think Nigel's a little bit bitter that he had to retire from wrestling, and he trained and couldn't face Bryan Danielson at Wembley, and people would certainly want to see that match. Not me, because Nigel's time has passed, even though Nigel was very good in TNA when he was Desmond Wolfe. No, really, that was his actual name. So, MJF was making this look easy. Hechicero is not bad in the ring. I just don't give a shit about the guy. I'm sorry, I just don't care. I don't watch enough CMLL, or I assume CMLL, because I know there's a thing between CMLL and AAA. Battle of the Letters. The sign says MJF is the Atari Jaguar of pro wrestling. If MJF starts to do the math part of his gimmick, I walk. I leave. That's it. I'm leaving this planet. I don't know how. So, he did end up getting a brainbuster 1, 2, 3, and it was fine. At least MJF won. It was about 10 minutes. It was what it was. And Tanahashi and the Acclaimed, Scissor Ace as it were, took on the Elite of the Bucks and Okada with referee Rick Knox. The Bucks can't work, and they got by on doing, goofy shit when they weren't featured guys, and Okada doesn't give a fuck anymore. Now, he doesn't need to put on epic matches, and I don't blame him for taking a shit pot full of money and not doing that much. He doesn't look like he cares. He doesn't look like he cared. He didn't look like he cared last year he was in New Japan, which I don't necessarily blame him. He'd carried that company on his goddamn back. I know that this belonged on Dynamite. They just did shit. The Bucks are terrible at comedy. They're terrible at being heels. They're not heels where I want to see them get beat up. Or I want to see revenge gotten on them by the faces. No, they're just terrible. They did the thing where, one of the Bucks was listening to the guy. I think it was Nick Jackson was listening to the headphones. And people were like, what's he listening to? Oh, Okada was having fun. Nick Jackson was probably listening to a bunch of crackpot conspiracy theory podcasts. Because we know that's how the Bucks think. That's how pretty much all the elite thinks. How a lot of their friends think. Referee Rick Knox, by the way, is terrible, I just want to say. And Rainmaker pinned Tanahashi. This is what they did with the Tanahashi-Okada feud. And Okada has not been on a New Japan show in about 4.5 months. Maybe 4 months. I forget exactly what the last New Japan show was that he was part of. It was sometime in, I want to say, late February. So Danielson took on Shingo. It's the American Dragon versus the Japanese Dragon. It was an Owen Hart Cup first round match. And you know what? They laid shit in. At least they took this seriously. More seriously than the previous match was. Oh yes, and Billy also came out and stopped Tanahashi from getting beaten down. So they're probably going to put Jack Perry in that match and we're going to get Ape Man on Dynamite. So they laid the strikes in. Danielson landing on his head. He can do what he wants. At the end of the day, he can do whatever the fuck he wants, but it is really, really stupid to keep laying on your goddamn head. Really fucking stupid. I don't care if this is the last year as a full-time wrestler. But Nigel kept mocking Bryan. They gotta be doing that match at Wembley. They almost have to be at this point. Pump and Bomber and Made in Japan for 2. They were doing some good stuff, but I was starting to zone a little bit because I expected this match to be good, and it was, but it also just went to my expectations, didn't exceed them. Danielson kept fighting back. He did hit the Bukkake knee for 2, and he got an armbar to win it because it was a verbal tap out or a verbal submission because Shingo couldn't continue. And the USA beats Japan again. And Bryan Danielson slammed Yokozuna on the USS Intrepid. I'm flashing back to when I was 12 years old. Show respect. Okay, that's fine. They want to have Shingo on a few more shows, that's fine. But then again, I don't think that he's going to be because the G1's coming up here in a couple weeks. All right, and beautiful for Tony Skies. Tony Storm is dressed up as a Statue of Liberty. I had to do it. Mina Shirakawa's entrance. It's an entrance. It's an entrance that has me interested, I'll say that much. Tony Storm and Mina Shirakawa for the AEW Women's Championship. Mariah May handing her flowers, offering her flowers to both women. That probably should have not been said, but let's just roll with it. So, there's a figure 4 spot around the post, and Mina started targeting Tony's knee. I can only imagine a certain Hall of Famer would have been watching that and saying, Mina Shirakawa did that figure 4 spot right, and Tony Storm protected her. You know who didn't protect anybody when their opponent put them on, in that figure 4 spot? Bill Goldberg. Had to say it. Hip attack for 2. Nice back and forth. Me and Shirakawa playing a heel. Tony having to fight back. It made sense for me and Shirakawa. As gorgeous as she is, good grief. Good grief. You want to talk about something? If somebody is rich and wants to treat her right, and actually is a decent person and good looking, you need to treat her like the goddess she is. That being said, hip attack, a roll up for 2. We got a Storm Zero for 3. They paced it well. They did some good stuff. I'm not going to complain one bit. It was also a breezy 12 to 13 minutes. They laid shit in. They got in, got out, told the story well. And then Mariah's still torn. We get a handshake, a hug, and then a 3-way kiss. Now, why couldn't we have seen the aftermath of that on pay-per-view instead of what we got to see next? See, I usually have to pay extra to see that kind of 3-way. And, yeah, so far, okay, the pay-per-view is ticking back up. And then Zack Sabre Jr. beat Orange Cassidy in about 16 minutes when it should have taken him 8. And they made me not want to watch Zack Sabre Jr. in a match anymore. Yeah, he won, good, but at what cost? There are those who like Orange Cassidy. You can like Orange Cassidy all you want. I don't really give a shit because your opinions are yours. Mine are mine. He's a joke. He's always been a joke. He will always be a joke. He's not a wrestler. He's a pathetic gimmick piece of shit. Not as a person, as a gimmick. He has not evolved in the almost 5 years. Actually, no, over 5 years. I hated seeing him at the Double or Nothing 2019 Battle Royal, and he has done nothing since then. Those who like him are going to like him. Me, never. And if he wins the AEW World title, I'm telling you right now, I'm saying it right here. He wins it, that's it. That's it. I ain't reviewing AEW until he loses it, because that's just going to be a bigger slap in the face than, like, I don't know, a lot of the shit they've been doing. So anyway, it looks like we got a mild show respect where Zack Sabre Jr. handed him his glasses. And Joe Hook Shibata in his new brain took on Jeff Cobb, a tall sack of shit, and a sack of shit whose wife was at the insurrection attempt about, 3.5 years ago. Yeah, it's Jericho. Please retire, chance. Why is this on pay-per-view? Why is Jeff Cobb in the middle of this? Why in the world did Tony Khan sign Chris Jericho to a big length contract? We got meat chance for Joe and Cobb. I wouldn't mind seeing that match. Every time Jericho got in the ring, he got either boos or he got absolutely no reaction. It was either people hated seeing him or they were just going to go silent. It depended on how they felt. They were also starting to run out of energy. Hook pinned Jericho. This feud has done nothing for Hook. If Hook is going to actually be exploring free agency soon, it might not hurt for him to leave. He might actually learn something if he goes elsewhere with a proper training program and structure. Even though I like Joe and Hook being a team. And then Mark Briscoe, Takeshita, Dante Martin, ELP, Leo Rush. They allow children in ladder matches now, apparently. And Jack Perry. Ladder match for the vacant TNT Championship. Okay, the idea is that they were going to gang up on Jack Perry, and Jack Perry wasn't going to do much and won. And he did. It was a mess. It was a joke. And Jack Perry was going to win this match. That's not the issue. It's just the thing is, the TNT title was already kind of on life support anyway. And this isn't going to work with Jack Perry. If it's working for you, fine. But I think the vast majority of people are basically showing that they just don't care about him. Yeah. I just what positive momentum has he brought to this show? Oh, he's a scapegoat. He's as much of a legit scapegoat as I am a legit astronaut. His dad was a better actor at the end of his life than Jack Perry is a wrestler at the peak of his life. So, yeah, the ladder matches don't mean anything. I mean, I'm just saying, at this point, they don't mean shit. Takeshita shined. I do want to say one thing before we move on. Takeshita shined, and they really need to figure out something to do with him. I don't know if they're ever going to figure out what to do with him, but there we are. Stephanie Vaquer against Mercedes Moné, who has creative control in her contract. And she basically looked at the other title and said, lose it? That doesn't work for Weave, brother. TBS, New Japan Strong Women's Championship. So, they took this seriously. This was Stephanie's match. I'm not seeing it with Mercedes. She did better, and I'm not even saying it's about ring rust. I think she seriously lost something before that ankle injury. Like, yeah, she'd only had a few matches, but the Moneymaker is a terrible finish. She has to stop doing that shit. But Stephanie was getting big cheers. She was focused. She looks incredible. And Mercedes looks like a star. She just thinks she's a bigger star than she actually is at this point. Her star has faded. Stephanie really shined here. There were fuck the Celtics and fuck the Red Sox chants. And the New York fans are just upset because the Knicks can't win anything. And the Yankees have basically fallen in the fucking toilet. And the Mets also aren't any good. And the Giants have only won 2 Super Bowls thanks to Eli Manning. Or was it 1 Super Bowl? I think it was 2 Super Bowls. And the Jets. Look at the Jets. The whole point is yeah, they don't have a lot of successful sports franchises right now. But then again, Boston and New York's always been a rivalry. So, Mercedes was leaning into the booze, which is good. She's easy to dislike. And she hits the Moneymaker and the crossface. So she gets the crossface to win it. And Stephanie looked great, and we got a double champion here. I hope that Stephanie maybe will do a few more appearances. But she's got a couple titles from CMLL, so I understand if we don't see her for a while. And then suddenly, the Doctor will see you now. The Doctor is back. Britt Baker is back. No, we don't get Jamie Hayter. We get somebody whose work has severely regressed. Britt Baker and Mercedes. Who is going to carry that feud? I know who isn't. The fans. The fans are going to say, yay, oh, and then the bell's going to ring. So, Wrestle Dynasty on the 5th of 2025. New Japan, CMLL, AEW, and others in the Dome. So it's 2 nights in the Dome. We have Wrestle Kingdom, and then what? Wrestle Kingdom 19, 20? The fuck are we up to? 19? I'm genuinely trying to remember. What Wrestle Kingdom are we up to? Let's see, 12. So 2019, 14, 15, 16, 22. Yeah, 19. I guess I had to do the math in my head and on my hand. So yeah, there we go. Stephanie looked great. Lost to Mercedes because that doesn't work for Weave, brother. Naito entrance. Mox entrance. He came out to his Death Rider music, and Mox and Naito had a match for the IWGP Championship. Red Shoes as the referee, and JR was on commentary, and I said, oh no. And I love JR. And JR's had a lot of health issues. And I hope that JR has battled through those, continues to live a healthy life and everything, as healthy as he can, because he's been struggling so much. Just in the last few years alone. But he had that bout with Bell's palsy back in, 94? And unfortunately, it's just degenerated ever since. And he's in his 70s, so that'll happen. He can't be doing this. He can't be doing this anymore. Menard shouldn't be doing commentary. Shivani shouldn't be doing I don't know where Shivani was. I hope Shivani's all right. They have Ian Riccaboni and Caprice Coleman. You can't tell me that you can't use those guys and swap people out. Yeah, Paul White under contract. Use him. You have other wrestlers that can talk. Use them. Have MJF out on commentary. Something. I don't know. Just you have so many people under contract. Use them. Let JR just sit at home, please. I'm not saying forget about him forever, but God. The crowd loved Red Shoes. They tried, but both are shot physically. Naito more so. Red Shoes did a whole thing where he grabbed the chair and hugged it like he was going to do air guitar, like he was going to go La Parka. Now I want to see Red Shoes and La Parka team up. And we got Destino for 3. Naito got the victory. I didn't really have anything to say about this because the match was what it was. Like, Naito won the championship back, just like Naito won the championship at whatever April 2016 event it was from Okada, and then dropped it at Dominion in 2016, and Okada went on that 720-day reign. I don't think Naito's going to go on a 720-day reign. I don't think Naito's holding the championship that long. He's probably dropping it at Wrestle Kingdom. I don't know who he's dropping it to. The G1 hasn't happened. I do want to say I'm probably not going to review the G1, because I don't want to. I'll see. So, Jim Jones. Who is Jim Jones? I mean, I know he was a cult leader, and I felt like drinking some Kool-Aid, hearing whatever the fuck he was saying. Apparently somebody did tell me he is a rapper. If that's what rap is right now, rap is dead. So anyway, Ospreay against Will Ospreay. Ospreay against Will Ospreay. Ospreay against Swerve. Let me try that again. I've been up since 4 a.m. I apologize. So, the Swerve Spray. Swerve Spray when he drives. Man, no wonder he swerves when he drives. We're being sprayed on the road. So, AEW World Championship. JR, they're not playing tonight, folks. And then they immediately go into flip-de-doo-dah shit. So, yeah, JR, they kind of are. Look, they took this shit seriously at times. Both can be serious, but when they are left to just do flip-de-doo-dah shit, it gets annoying. I do want to quickly say, though, that Ospreay apparently lost his grandma. His commentary mentioned that. I feel bad. Losing a family member is never easy. So they laid the chops in. There was a rail bump, a Rana off of it, that is. And then they were doing the big moves, just laying the shit out. We got a Styles Clash. Garcia was watching on from the box. Super Olympic slam by Swerve. That was cool. Got an apron bump for no reason. We got stomped through the announcer's table, the Spanish announcer's table, I think. A pile driver on the barricade. And then a drop in the ring. 1, 2. Okay, kick out. Sure, okay. Look, this is where I have issues, especially in AEW. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have it where people fight back from things. And yeah, it's a big championship match, and they built this up well. It gets to be too much. They were starting to do too much even here. But I'm like, okay, let me give it a chance. Because even Danielson and Ospreay did it. And they were able, but I'll argue Danielson and Ospreay was much, much better than this, even though they did some good stuff. So, the arm snap got stopped after 2 Os cutters, one that was off the ropes, a roll-up for 2, another Os cutter, a Stormbreaker for 2, and then Swerve hits his own hidden blade, and then they telegraphed the referee bump. I believe it was Paul Turner bumped into the bottom rope, and it looked like it was going to be like a Tommy Young situation where it's like, I hope he's okay, because that looked really bad. If you know about Tommy Young, you know what I'm talking about. So Callis shows up with the screwdriver and says, you need to stab and kill this man on live pay-per-view. Then Nana tries to stop it. And then Ospreay gets it and like he's going to kill Nana. Why? I mean, yes, you want to win, but this makes no sense. It makes no sense. It's like, yes, doing everything to win, but the thing is Callis has been such an ineffective manager for Ospreay. I mean, I'm sorry. He just has. They got a house call, a stomp, a second ref, Aubrey, 1, 2, kick out. Oh, for God's sakes, a stomp, and then a house call for another 2. House call, and some driver, Swerve hits him. I was checked out by this point because doing too many kickouts. 1, 2, 3, Swerve retains. Okay. I would have thought they might have actually, had Ospreay win it here. I was a bit surprised. I'm just going to toss this away. I'm a bit surprised because I would have thought that everything was leading up to Ospreay being a double champion. If they want to have him be the international champion, lose it to Garcia, like on Dynamite, and then maybe have Ospreay run it back and, go after Swerve at Wembley, that makes sense. But here's the problem. The winner of the Owen Cup tournament is supposed to get a shot. So unless they do something like Danielson wins it, Nigel attacks him, and Danielson goes after Nigel instead, and we get Ospreay versus Swerve, I don't know where you get a scenario where this actually will make sense. I'm glad Swerve retained. I just fear that they're really going to do something stupid with it, considering I thought Swerve was going to be part of Blood and Guts, so maybe they have Ospreay win it before that, and he goes into Wembley as champion. I have more questions than answers, and no, I didn't listen to the media scrum because I am not going to listen to Tony Khan and get blown on a goddamn press conference by a bunch of people that are just going to say everything's great. There were moments on this show I liked, but this is you could have cut out the 6-man with Jericho. You could have cut out a couple of the other matches on the main card, and you would have saved at least 50 minutes. There's nothing wrong with giving the fans enough money, enough for their pay-per-view money. It's $50 here in the U.S. And they need a streaming deal or a package deal or something where you can buy pay-per-views for a lower price by the start of next year with Revolution. Because otherwise, I'm going to have to start picking and choosing. Because it's not about money. I got money. I'm good. It's about just whatever. I want AEW to succeed, and I hope that their television gets better. Agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ricklin. I'll see you soon.